You know, I think other than the quality of light, the right lens choice for landscape photography is equally important. I tend to personally shoot everything with either a really wide angle lens or a telephoto lens because that's just the way I like to see things. And as I scan the landscape, I'm always looking for ways, like I can look at this and I can say, okay, that's a compression shot. That's a 300 millimeter to bring the foreground cactus and those background cactus that are a quarter mile away in closer together. Whereas, you know, I look over here and I see this saguaro here and it's got these great cloud patterns above. And immediately I look at that and say, oh, that's a 20 millimeter shot. So my brain tends to work that way. I mean, I look at things based on what focal lengths I'm seeing with my personal visions. And I think that's a good way to look at photography and bounce around because you tend to see things, oh, that's a 20 millimeter, oh, that's a 300 millimeter. So you're seeing the way your focal lengths are being utilized in order to bring home, you know, your strongest photograph. And there's a few tricks that we need to work with and a few things that we always look for when shooting, especially with wide angle lenses. And see, look at this right here. See, this is fabulous. This stone building, we've got these wonderful prickly pears, perfect for a wide angle because I can bring in all of this information in one shot. So let's stop for a moment here and get a shot of this. All right, so we've got this wonderful wide angle shot that we're going to take here, and I'm using a wide angle zoom. Zooms have become very popular and very good in the last decade, and so it's a lot easier to carry around one lens that gives me 4 focal lengths than it is to carry around 4 lenses, and so they're really valuable. So I've got a real wide angle on here, a 14 millimeter that goes all the way from a 24 to a 14, but I'm still too far away from these cactus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull forward, because one of the beauties about a wide angle lens is the depth of field is already pretty substantial. And so I can come right in on these cactuses here, being careful that I don't prick myself, and see those cactuses. And again, the amount of volume of information that I'm getting. I'm going to rise up a little bit to get that composition just right so the stone building behind me and the cactuses, which are in the foreground, are going to be good and sharp. And again, when I'm considering landscape photography, using a tripod, it's enabling me to be able to shoot at a very, very small aperture. So I'm at f/22, but even with this light, I'm still able to get 1/100th of a second. One of the great things about shooting at this time of the day when the light is so bright is that I can shoot at a very small depth of field. That's why I'm on a stick, because earlier the light wasn't as bright, and so I need the tripod in order to get that great depth of field. The wide angle lens already gives me a great amount of depth of field, but I'm keeping everything true by using a small aperture, f/22 in this case. But still, even at f/22, I'm shooting at 1/100th of a second at my lowest ISO. So that tells me a couple things. One, it isn't necessary for me to use the tripod. So one of the great things about when we get to this point is that it really frees me up from having to sit and actually work with the sticks to give me a one particular shot, because I have to, you know, move the sticks, get up. This allows me to do a lot of other things because I can hand hold the camera at great depth of field and still do this. So I can actually change the way I shoot things in a much easier fashion because I can just move and shoot without having to rearrange the tripod each time I do this. So it gives me a lot more freedom to move around and I'm not sacrificing anything. And the value of the zoom is that if I don't like the particular focal length at 14 with the zoom, I'm moving it in here now. Now I'm probably around 20 millimeter, and it's tightened the shot up more, and it's made it much more effective. It's a great way to use wide angle lenses, zoom lenses, and kick off the sticks. We've got a great scene here in the desert with a wonderful boulder coming down the opposite hill here. And this kind of a shot, you know, with the wide angle, which we used back at the cactuses to show foreground, here we're going to use the benefit of a long lens, and again, a fabulous zoom that goes to 300 millimeter. We're going to be able to crank it up and get a photograph of this boulder and actually compress the saguaros around it, so it actually makes it look as though we've multiplied the number of saguaro because it's brought them in closer into the same frame. And there we go, nice compression shot with the 300. So, you know, just in this small area out here, in the Saguaro National Monument, we've been able to get wonderful shots with the wide angle shooting foreground and bringing in the prickly pear cactus in the background and seeing almost everything in this enclosed area within the desert. Now we're taking a 300 and we're isolating spots and bringing them in, using the compression to kind of accentuate the number of cactus that are here and give us a sense of scale with this giant boulder down the way. I've increased my white balance here to give me a little bit more warmth because we're getting kind of that noon hour. It's giving me more warmth. And lens choice is so important in what we can be able to bring out of this fabulous landscape by just selecting the right lens for the right subject.